Good morning. Class is now in session. Today's topic of discussion, sexual education. Let's bring attention to the lack of proper sexual education in our nation and how it affects the current generation. Many of today's youth are failing to receive the knowledge that they need to protect themselves from unplanned pregnancies. The Center for Disease Control conducted research that shows that 1,700 girls between the ages of 15 and 17 give birth on a weekly basis. Pregnancy affects the lives of any woman, but it especially affects girls who become pregnant at a young age. I gave birth at 19 years old and have since struggled to continue my college education and to earn my degree. 30% of all students who drop out of school state that pregnancy and motherhood were their reason for leaving, as founded by the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy. With the teen pregnancy still being a major concern for today's society, there's a need for revision in our school's current sexual education curriculum. Our kids today are missing the proper education on sex, and it affects their lives. StateTeen.org found that only 13 states require sex ed to present medically accurate information. And as one of the world's leading powers, that's only 26% of the states in our country, which is a remarkably low number. So let's face it, teens are having sex. Dr. Douglas Kirby, a senior research scientist, states that about half of all teens admit to having ever had sex, and the proportion of teens who have continues to increase steadily with age. Planned Parenthood has said that because the average age of menstruation is at an all-time low of around 13 years old, 6 out of 10 girls are having sex. With the lack of proper sexual knowledge in schools today, I know that they are at risk of becoming pregnant. Still, there's major opposition to much of the needed change in the sexual education in schools, but I can assure you that there are ample reasons why change is so very important. First, parents feel that it's their responsibility to discuss sex with their children, and that classrooms should be saved for general education purposes only. So with the current rates of teen pregnancy, it's proof that there's a large deficit in this discussion at home. And when sexual education is in the curriculum, it can be regulated so that all children receive the same information across the board. Secondly, we hear information that sex education should only be taught in high schools, as it's a really mature topic for younger students. With the early development of hormones, many children are entering into sexual relationships at a much younger age, which leads to a much deeper need for earlier sexual education. Finally, it's said that sex education can impede upon religious beliefs and freedoms. Since multiple religions and opposition from the science field is taught nationally, I see no reason the inclusion of sexual education is any different, as it gives children the necessary information they need about their health. The best solution in helping reduce teen pregnancy is to require all schools to offer medically accurate sexual education classes starting in 6th grade and annually throughout middle school and high school. According to the CDC, 8 in 10 teens did not receive sex education before the first time they ever had sex. So by starting earlier in school, we can allow our children to make informed decisions about their sexual choices. Just like math and English, sex education is part of school that should be a necessity and should develop as children advance in their education. Doctors David and Catherine Hall from the University of Georgia found that approximately 82% of randomly selected adults in the U.S. between the ages of 18 and 83 support comprehensive programs that teach students about abstinence and offer other pregnancy prevention methods. With this proposed change in curriculum, we can see a positive change in the way that our children approach sex. So by giving them annual courses, the information will stay fresh among sexually active teens. As stated in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, education on sex, less sexual activity among teens, and the increased use of contraception are all credited for the lowest teen birth rate in the U.S. since 1940. That's over 70 years, guys. So to see the change, we must do something. I encourage you to look into your local school system's sex ed curriculum. Knowing what your kids are learning in school allows you to fill in the necessary gaps. As the CDC states, more than 7 out of 10 parents spoke to their kids about sex. So I know that we can see statistics improve. Visit your local school board meeting and ask questions. By meeting face to face, we can encourage a change with a much deeper effect. I know for me personally, after reading that Planned Parenthood found 3 out of 4 Texas schools implement abstinence-only programs, I have every intention to promote the necessary change in sexual education around me. After all, my family lives in Texas and I have 3 children, one of them being my 9-year-old daughter who will attend Texas schools in the future. I know for me, I plan to be the change for them. So what about you?